There's been many great tag teams in wrestling history and the modern day. The likes of the Road Warriors, the Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, the Young Bucks, Dudley Boys, the Lucha Brothers to name a few. But what about those teams made by just throwing together two single stars? But they actually turn out amazing. I'm Reese from the Wrestling Hideout, and this is 10 times random single stars were put together and made a great team. Number 1, Eddie Guerrero and Tajiri. A team created by sad circumstances. Going into Judgment Day 2003, Eddie and Chavo were due to be in a ladder match for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. Unfortunately, just 5 days before the event, Chavo tore his bicep. But with the ladder match being advertised, the show must go on. And who best to step in but Tajiri? And what an incredible few weeks they had, teamed together with matches including the World's Greatest Tag Team and the Bashams, as well as some really amazing backstage skits. The team only lasted 6 matches before they lost the titles. Eddie turned on poor Tajiri with a post-match beatdown, ending a really fun team early in its tracks. Number 2, America's Most Wanted. Chris Harris and James Storm were a staple of early TNA and well into the Spike era. But the foundations of the team aren't as simple as you'd think. Originally, Storm and Harris were wrestling rivals on the independent scene when Jeff Jarrett found them for TNA and had brought them in to be a storyline backup team to face the Rainbow Express. From then on, they went on to be one of TNA's most popular and reliable tag teams, earning their first of 6 NWA tag team titles just 3 months after their debut as a team. Joined by wrestling legend Gail Kim, the team went on to create some of TNA's greatest matches and moments against the likes of Triple X, Team 3D, and LAX, to name a few, before eventually splitting up 5 years later, leading to a blindfold cage match that you can now audibly sigh about. Number 3, Kane and Rob Van Dam. So around the time of the first ever Elimination Chamber, which would feature both these men, Kane and RVD would form a very mixed-matched but fun tag team, with their first match together being against Chris Jericho and Christian in the opening match of Raw, November the 11th, 2002, for the World Tag Team titles. The team would feud with Evolution, with Shawn Michaels self-inserted in places, until February 2003, where they would fully settle into the tag team division, losing their initial title matches against Lance Storm and William Regal. The team would finally pick up their only tag team title reign, defeating Storm and Chief Morley, as well as the Dudley Boys in an elimination match at the end of March 2003. Their title run would only last until June, where at Bad Blood they would lose the titles to La Resistance, and then just 8 days later would see the end of the team when Kane lost his mask to Triple H and turned on RVD in the process. This then led to a feud that lasted through the summer and is definitely worth checking out. Number 4, Rey Mysterio and Edge. In October 2002, Stephanie McMahon, the general manager of SmackDown at the time, announced a tournament for the new SmackDown Tag Team titles.
Got your attention?
Featuring the likes of Los Guerreros, Brock Lesnar and Tajiri, and Billy and Chuck. Edge and Rey Mysterio were teamed together, defeating Lesnar, Tajiri in round 1, and then Devon and Ron Simmons in round 2, before losing the finals of the tournament at No Mercy 2002 to Angle and Benoit in what is a 22-minute tag team masterclass. Seriously, go and watch this or rewatch it, whatever you have to do. It's phenomenal. The team stuck together and picked up their only tag team title reign in a 2 out of 3 falls match against the champions Angle and Benoit 2.5 weeks later in another amazing match. Now, their reign only lasted 10 days. They sadly lost the belts at Survivor Series 2002 in a triple team tag team match to Los Guerreros, which also featured Angle and Benoit. A match that featured every member of the highly praised SmackDown 6. It's the perfect match to show why these 6 men were so core to the success of SmackDown and why they were handpicked by Paul Heyman. The team only had one match after this, so sadly a very short run, leaving everyone wanting more. Number 5. Rated-RKO. During John Cena's dominance of Monday Night Raw and the reformation of DX, Edge and Randy Orton, two men constantly in the main event scene of Monday Night Raw, teamed up to rival with DX, believing that DX was the reason they weren't on top of the red brand. Officially forming together as Rated-RKO alongside Lita in the very early stages before she retired, Edge and Orton feuded with some form of DX from October 2006 to February 2007. Attacking Ric Flair, and Cena was often inserted in their matches in 6-man tags involving DX. All this led to a title victory in November when they defeated Flair and Piper, which sounds like a fever dream, and then a successful title defense at New Year's Revolution in a match against Triple H and Shawn Michaels that sadly saw the game tear his quadriceps. The team continued the feud with Michaels, where they lost titles to the makeshift team of Michaels and Cena in January on the road to WrestleMania. This began the tensions, and then officially the team broke up when Edge joined the SmackDown brand in May, ending one hell of a tag team after just 6 months. Number 6. Beer Money. With the end of America's Most Wanted and Team Canada, both Bobby Roode and James Storm were paired together in the tail end of 2008 in a feud against LAX. The result of this pairing would lead to one of TNA's most decorated tag teams and amazing feuds. Over the course of their tenure, Beer Money held the belts 5 times, the most jointly with the Wolves, with James Storm having the record of being a 7-time TNA Tag Team Champion. Beer Money would go on to feud with the likes of Team 3D, LAX, join the faction Fortune, and have one of their most famous feuds against the incredible Motor City Machine Guns, where they had a series of phenomenal matches for the titles. The team lasted 3 years until November 2011, when Storm won the TNA World Heavyweight Championship and Roode became the number 1 contender. Roode would later turn on Storm, hitting him with his own beer bottle and pinning him to capture the gold, thus ending a team with both men having won TNA's biggest prize. Number 7. Kane and X-Pac. So on paper, Kane and X-Pac sounds like a feud you'd expect to see in 1999, but the reality was they formed one of the best teams of the late 90s after both men were betrayed. Kane by Chyna and X-Pac by Triple H after WrestleMania 15, leading both men to come together. In their first match as a team, they defeated Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart for the tag team titles and had a rocky relationship of mistrust at the start. The team of X-Pac and Kane feuded with the likes of The Undertaker and Big Show, and being credited in helping make Kane feel more human to the audience, as well as add a little extra character to the big red machine that didn't involve The Undertaker. On the flip side, you could also argue it helped make X-Pac more reliable and more rejuvenated to an audience. Now eventually, of course, X-Pac rejoined DX and turned on Kane, leading to a series of matches between the two, and the start of a romance for Kane with Tori. But alas, ultimately Tori would backstab Kane and align with X-Pac. After nearly a year of storytelling, Kane and X-Pac's story came to an end at WrestleMania 2000. Not only did X-Pac and Kane make a great team, this year-long story was a highlight of 1999 into 2000 and did amazing things for both men. Truly underrated. Number 8, Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit. In a common wrestling theme, Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit were embroiled in a bitter rivalry when they're forced to team together or be suspended for the SmackDown Tag Team Title Tournament, the same one mentioned during our Edge and Rey Mysterio section. So, while I won't repeat the details again, these two technical masters of the ring showcased amazing chemistry together, whether as partners or rivals. While the team didn't last long at all, the ending resulted in Kurt Angle winning the world title in December 2002, and then defending the belt against Chris Benoit in a phenomenal match at the 2003 Royal Rumble, and then later on the formation of Team Angle. Number 9, The Bar. The most modern of teams on this list, but it would be amiss to exclude them. Sheamus and Cesaro formed one of the greatest modern tag teams in recent history. Originally stuck in a 3-month-long feud with a best-of-7 series that ended in a tie, Raw GM Mick Foley forced both men to tag together, leading to a 3-year-long amazing tag team experience. Both men complemented each other well and would go on to have 5 tag team title reigns across SmackDown and Raw, while feuding with teams such as the New Day and the Usos. Sadly, the team came to its end when Sheamus suffered an injury and Cesaro was drafted to the opposite brand. And now with Cesaro in AEW as Claudio Castagnoli, we may never see a reunion of these two. Number 10, Owen Hart and Yokozuna. Now this spot could have gone to a number of different pairings, but I decided on Owen Hart and Yokozuna. This is most definitely a pairing that seems weird on the surface, due to Yokozuna and Bret Hart's rivalry for the world title. However, in 1995, Yokozuna was clearly slowing down and wasn't able to go as well as he once could. So how do you fix that? You put him with the amazing Owen Hart. Debuting at WrestleMania 11 as Owen Hart's mystery partner in a match for the tag team titles, which they would win to claim the titles on their first night, and joined by Jim Cornette as manager, the team held the belts twice between April and September 1995, in matches where Owen could be the workhorse and Yokozuna could do a few moves to protect himself. Now, while the matches themselves might not have been the greatest, this was just a really fun pairing that further showcased just how amazing Owen Hart was in the ring and helped get a little bit more out of Yokozuna into the tail end of his career. We spoke about this earlier, but sometimes the best wrestling teams are those random pairs that are just thrown together. We did a list that previously was really popular on this channel, loads of other suggestions, and I was already working on list 2, so here it is. This is 10 more random wrestling teams that turned out great. Number 1, Goldust and Booker T. So what happens when 2 of the funniest and best workers in wrestling get paired together? Look no further than Goldust and Booker T. Forming an unusual alliance once Booker T was forced out of the broken WWE version of the NWO. The team of Bookdust was a pairing of comedy gold skits, please pardon the pun, such as The Hotel Room, Mini Dust, and Darth Goldust. These 2 men had amazing chemistry on camera, while both being great workers in the ring in their own rights. All of this led to the team picking up their first and only World Tag Team title reign that sadly only lasted 3 weeks. After this, both men went their separate ways, with Booker T ending up with a world title match against Triple H at WrestleMania just a few months later. And I think we all know how that went. Number 2, Tyson Kidd and Cesaro. Now this was a true gem during an incredibly rough era of WWE. Tyson Kidd and Cesaro, with Natalya leading them to the ring, had a technically phenomenal tag team that only lasted around 8 months before Kidd was sadly forced to retire from a neck and spinal injury. Capturing the tag team titles from the Usos and putting on great matches against them and the New Day, Kidd and Cesaro really helped to hold the tag team division together during an era where tag team wrestling really wasn't being given the credit it deserved. Number 3, the New Age Outlaws. One of the most famous and popular tag teams of all time, let alone the Attitude Era. The Road Dogg Jesse James and badass Billy Gunn came from very different backgrounds before forming together to create this great tag team. Billy Gunn was rockabilly and was managed by the Honky Tonk Man, while the real Double J, Jesse James, was paired up with Jeff Jarrett. Ending their feuds, and with Road Dogg convincing Gunn to turn on his manager, the New Age Outlaws were formed, going on to hold the WWF Tag Team titles 5 times and joining DX during Triple H's reign as leader. Both men held prominent roles over the course of the Attitude Era, featuring within DX, and would feud with multiple teams such as LOD, Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie, and main eventers such as Kane and Mankind. And yes guys, I know Mick Foley was Cactus Jack. Number 4, the Dirty Hills. Now it featured Bobby Roode on our first list, but he's so good at what he does, he made onto list 2 as well, with Austin Aries as the Dirty Hills. The Dirty Hills didn't exactly start on good terms. In fact, months prior to them winning the tag titles, Aries and Roode were actually feuding over the Impact World title. Inject some aces and eights and Jeff Hardy over the course of around 6 months, and the result is the Dirty Hills. Holding one world title over the course of their 8-month stint, Dirty Hills would put on some of the best weekly and pay-per-view matches, which could easily be expected from 2 great wrestlers such as Aries and Roode. Number 5, the Hollywood Blondes. One of the greatest in-ring teams of all time, consisting of two of the greatest in-ring talents. The Hollywood Blondes are often overshadowed by the more famous runs the wrestlers had as single stars, being Stone Cold Steve Austin and Flying Brian Pillman. Despite holding the World Tag Team titles and splitting up a few times, with Brian Pillman's leg injury causing havoc for the team, the Hollywood Blondes would be featured prominently across WCW television. However, the resulting end of the team would lead both men getting on singles runs, with Austin challenging for the United States Championship before both men would depart WCW and find themselves in the WWE. Number 6, The Miz and Morrison. Now, before The Miz and John Morrison would have their singles careers, both men were paired together on WWE CW and won the tag team titles from Matt Hardy and MVP. The men would go on to hold the titles for 250 days, have their own talk show and web show called Dirt Sheet, and this really helped just traject both men's careers upwards. They would later join forces again when Morrison would return to the WWE years later, however, didn't quite have the charm it originally did. They even won Tag Team of the Year award from Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer newsletter. Shocking, right? I can't stress enough how much you should go and check out some clips of the Miz and Morrison's original run as a team. It's some of the best TV you'll see. Number 7, The Good Brothers. Now hold on, before you click off the video and cancel us on Twitter, hear me out. I'm not talking about Gallows and Anderson in WWE, or even TNA before that, but New Japan Bullet Club, Gallows and Anderson. Debuting as a team in the World Tag League, the men would go on to win their block, win the tournament, and win the resulting IWGP Tag Team title match against the Killer Elite Squad. Sadly, I can't put any clips or pictures of the men in New Japan because New Japan hates YouTubers, but they would become a staple of the Bullet Club and New Japan. The team helped revitalise Doc Gallows post WWE and show off why New Japan Carl Anderson really was great. While the team sadly hasn't made the splash in WWE that people would have hoped, their run in New Japan has solidified them a place on this list. Number 8, Paul London and Brian Kendrick. One of the low-key highlights of mid-2000s WWE was London and Kendrick. The men would get paired up to show off their fast-paced, high-flying action in a really stale tag team division on SmackDown. For example, they feuded with KC James and Idol Stevens, which Michelle McCool managed, if anyone remembers that trio. Eventually, having the late Ashley Massaro join them as their manager, London and Kendrick would pick up the SmackDown tag team titles and have the longest tag title reign in company history, until the New Day would break that record 10 years later. Later moving to the Raw band and collecting the tag titles there too, London and Kendrick seemed to be a much forgotten tag team that really put on the tag division on their back during a rough time as a fan. Number 9, Team Hell No. Arguably the most famous team on this list, perhaps the New Age Outlaws depending on when you started watching wrestling. Team Hell No was the makeshift team of Kane and Daniel Bryan. Yes, another makeshift team Kane was placed into. That just seems to be a speciality. In a familiar wrestling trope, Bryan and Kane were rivals that were forced to team together, as well as attend anger management classes, which really were far more entertaining than they sound. Bickering and fighting during matches, the pair would go on to become a babyface duo with the fans fully behind them. The team would pick up one tag team title over the course of their 10-month stint as a team, before separating again, with both men intending to become WWE champion. Number 10, Owen Hart and the British Bulldog. Now, Owen Hart and the British Bulldog, the real-life brother-in-laws, got paired up in 1996, which was arguably past the early 90s peak that both men had. Put together with Jim Cornette and his stable with Vader, both men would pick up multiple pay-per-view wins, including winning their only tag team championship against the Smoking Guns at In Your House 10. They even took on the legendary fake Diesel and fake Razor Ramon. The pair fought each other as champions in the finals of the European Championship tournament, which Bulldog would eventually win. While tension built in the team, the end of their run actually led into the formation of the Hart Foundation, with Bret Hart, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and Brian Pillman, another legendary stable to go and check out. So that was our list, 10 more teams that started off as random solos, came together and were amazing. Is there anyone that you think should have been on this list that wasn't? Anyone that didn't make list 1 and list 2 that you really truly think should have been on here? Let us know in the comments below. Let us know which one of these teams are your favourite. If you haven't already, please drop the episode like, helps us phenomenally. Subscribe to the Wrestling Hideout for more fantasy booking, more lists, more news and more reviews, and hopefully we'll see you all in the next one. Bye guys.